Hey everybody, it's Eli from Art of Eli. I'm just going to share with you something, a comic book that I got from my best friend Marlon when I was 11, 1991. Spider-Man died up there, you see, at the hands of Thanos. This was a really impactful issue for me because it made me see comic books a lot different. One day I'll go over my love and hate relationship in the beginning with comic books when I was really young versus when I when I got a little older, thanks to like Batman the animated series stuff like that. But this issue kind of made me think a lot about character development and mindset and how our emotions get the best of us or how the devil gets in our head, tells us we're not worthy. This comic definitely got me thinking at 11 years old, and thanks to my boy Marlon. But so the writer of this comic, her name was Ann Nocenti. She worked on Uncanny X-Men. She worked on different Marvel titles. She worked on Catwoman. What was interesting about her, she's a woman of all trades, filmmaker, artist, teacher. She also did the co-creation of Mojo and Spiral and Blackheart and Typhoid Mary for Marvel. And the artist is Rick Leonenti. He also worked on Spider-Man 2099 when it first came out. Spider-Verse 2, he'll make a big appearance in that, Spider-Man 2099. And also he worked on Batman Beyond comics, one of many others. Batman Beyond's 2099, that'd be pretty cool. But anyway, let's deep dive into 1991's Spider-Man number 17. Now the comic starts out with Spider-Man thinking to himself about all his issues, and he has to see Mary Jane, and he has to make bill payments, and he has to get that barbecue sauce, as you can see in his pocket, to Aunt May while she's cooking, so he won't get in trouble. So it's regular stuff that's going on in Spider-Man's head. As we know and love the character, he's a very everyman character, or every guy or every girl character. Like he's dealing with people issues while dressing up like a uniform. So Spider-Man sees that these window washers or repairmen on the board there, it breaks. So Spider-Man swoops in to get them. Now the platform that they were on ends up hitting some Freon tanks. Now near the Freon tanks on top of that building, there was a mom and a daughter that was doing laundry, putting up their laundry, and Spider-Man's trying to rescue them. He rescued the guys, and now he has to rescue these mother and daughter. Will it be too late? Spider-Man jumps to their rescue, grabs them both. The thing explodes. Looks pretty painful. And maybe Spider-Man was too late. He was. It explodes. Everyone's thrown around. Spider-Man's on the floor. God knows where the girl and the mom ended up. And he's laying there in a puddle of red stuff. Now Spider-Man his spirit ends up leaving his body, and he's looking at his lifeless corpse, and he's thinking about how, like, right now, how death feels freeing, and how he kind of weeps for the Spider-Man who he was, that tried to save people and did his best, and he kind of failed. So he's kind of in a little bit of a way making terms with his death really quickly, and he looks and he sees the mom waking up. So then he sees the light. He starts heading towards the light. He starts kind of getting forced to go. He's thinking he's going to heaven, and he's remembering how much he loved Gwen Stacy. So it's almost like his subconscious and his conscious are becoming one as he ascends. Now, oddly enough, when he gets up there, he doesn't see St. Peter. He sees Thanos. And Thanos is with his lady love, Death. We know the movie's a little different than the comic books. In the comics, he had a kind of a death fetish. He loved Death, and she was like an embodiment. It's like, well, Deadpool and Death, and that's a whole other story. But anyway, going back to Spider-Man. He's kind of shocked to see Thanos there, just like probably everybody was at that point. I didn't really know who Thanos was when I first read this, but I knew he was probably a villain. So Thanos is kind of saying that Spider-Man died of a heart attack, and Spider-Man's like, wow, all the villains I fought and everything. You would think, wow, heart attack got me. He's kind of still making terms about how that guy, his old self used to worry about so much and how everything was so mundane, and making peace until he notices that the mom is holding her dead daughter in her hands. She doesn't feel no breath, no heartbeat. and she's yelling at Spider-Man and she hates him and she's like, "You should have saved her and not me. Why didn't you save my daughter?" So now that's kicking Spider-Man's guilt into gear. Now Thanos is saying how, just like him, the little girl's half gone. She's almost to her final destination, and Spider-Man's yelling, saying she's too young and release her, make sure I go, but help her come back. And Thanos is kind of like, yeah, whatever, and Death's just quietly watching. So while Thanos is telling Spider-Man how futile it is for him to plead with death and him, um, he has a look, and Spider-Man has a look in his eyes. And Thanos is like, "You got to be kidding me!" And then next thing you know, he knew Spider-Man was going to hit him. Spider-Man hits him pretty hard, and Thanos takes that hit. And around the time they were kind of going at it, Thanos is kind of telling Spider-Man how worthless, how futile life was, how he threw his life away, how he made no difference really, how he stopped death from getting hers because he saved so many lives. So he's really messing with Spider-Man's head right now and emotions. Sick of his stuff, and punches him with one hit. Spider-Man goes flying into the wall. So while Thanos is pretty much about to just, dispose of Spider-Man, throw him in the great beyond or whatever, he's noticing Death's been really quiet. She's been very observant. So Thanos kind of turns to her and he goes, "My love, why are you so quiet? Like, don't you want him?" So Spider-Man turns to Thanos and says she agrees with me. She doesn't believe it's silly to fight death. And Thanos is kind of saying, like, "I thought, you would want him." And he goes, "How can I never please you?" Thanos, if you ever watch the Silver Surfer cartoons, you see how much, like, insanely in love with death he was. And he ends up telling her, like, "I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for that little girl." And then he feels himself coming back. So Death gives Spider-Man a second chance. So the story ends with Spider-Man waking up and the girl's waking up as well. And Spider-Man rushes off to take the little girl to the hospital. And the mom's really, she's like, kind of, don't think small of a miracle, kind of. And Spider-Man was like, "How did I get back?" And this and that. And she's probably a woman of faith. So this comic, when I read it as a kid, made me really think about a lot of things, about what our life is worth, about what we do with the time we have. And I didn't know much about, I mean, I was only 12, 11 years old when I read it. I didn't know much about life in general, but there was something about this story. And also, this story made me want to read more comic books because it was more than just Spider-Man punching Thanos in his turkey neck. It was kind of like an internal monologue about how we as people feel that we're not doing a lot in life, but in a way we are. And sometimes we feel we don't do enough. I know I feel that a lot. And it's weird how, as 11-year-old Eli, now a 40-something-year-old Eli, um, I still have that same feeling at times. And just like Spider-Man, he realized something, that it is worth it. That when we think low of ourselves as a person, it's just our Thanos, our inner Thanos, our lower self telling us that we haven't done anything with our lives. So this comic opened so many doors for me as an educator, as a creator, as even a mindset maker, a thought provoker. I just wanted to think more deeper on levels. This is probably where I started. And again, thanks to my boy Marlon, who gave me this comic book. I still have the one he gave me, and I'll cherish it always. So, till then, everyone, stay encouraged and know your worth, like Spider-Man did.